I want to have a nice office chair. That's something that I get in no Airbnb.
I'm dreaming of an office chair.
Yeah.
Meet Palle Bo, a digital nomad from Denmark on an epic journey around the world. This is the Radio Vagabond podcast.
We're in Rio now, and we came on a boat from Barcelona to Brazil. And you, Johannes, you're responsible for me being in Brazil right now. Can you take that responsibility on your shoulders?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. I think I've got some things to say in that thing.
Johannes Voelkner started his digital nomad lifestyle in 2010. As much as he enjoyed working while traveling, he was missing like-minded people around him, sharing the same values and lifestyle. And he took action. He organized events for entrepreneurs and digital nomads for years, created a Facebook group for digital nomads called Global Digital Nomad Network, currently one of the largest of its kind with over 36,000 members. One day in 2015, he came upon a cheap travel deal across the Atlantic.
3.5 years ago, I saw a cheap repositioning cruise that was going across the Atlantic,
and he posted it in his Facebook group.
And I thought it's the perfect place for my nomad friends and me to meet up and go to South America together and escape the winter.
100 applications in 3 weeks convinced him that it was worth turning into a business.
So that was the main idea, and then it turned into a big conference.
And Nomad Cruise was born. Today, Johannes and his team are running 2 cruises each year, building friendships, collaborations, projects, and most importantly, a community of like-minded people. In this episode of the Radio Vagabond, we will dive into the history of Nomad Cruise and take a look at what's on the horizon as we talk about the future of the company. And at the very end, we have some breaking news about Johannes himself and his own nomad lifestyle. This news involves a nice office chair. But first, let me remind you that this episode is brought to you in part by Hotels25.com. It's a website that helps you find the best prices on hotels around the world. It does that by searching a bunch of the big hotel search sites in one simple search. Hotels25.com. You should try it out. It actually works.
If you have to be honest, was it really a way of you thinking, hey, that's a nice way for me to get to South America?
Yeah, it was like this. It was like I wanted to not go alone to South America because I wanted to go to South America. And then I saw the cruise and I was like, this could be a cool thing. So let's just try this. But I had no idea that this would become so big.
And it has. Since the first one, it's grown quite a lot. Nomad Cruise 6, my first from Malaga to Athens, had 249 attendees from 42 countries. And the one that just brought us across the Atlantic from Barcelona to Brazil, Nomad Cruise 6, broke all previous records with almost double that. 492 participants on board from more than 50 countries.
Yeah, that's true, but also we have to keep in mind that we're not double. This cruise had a lot of people who joined in the past who really wanted to go on this trip. So we're not going to be like 500, 600, 700 the next times.
You mean double every time? So I'm thinking the next one we will be 1,000.
No. I am from Germany. I've been living there until I was like 18, 19, and then I always started to travel a lot in between my studies and stuff. And and then one day I moved to South Africa. I stayed there for 5 years. I first went there for 1 year of study, and then I met my ex. So I stayed there for 5 years in total. And there I had the problem that I couldn't work really and make a living in Cape Town, and I only had 14 days vacation for a normal job, so it was very hard, very shitty paid jobs. And that's how I started to work online to make my life in South Africa possible, and also like go in between to my friends in Germany. So that's where I started already like in 2008 with the idea to work online for clients like in Germany and in Europe in general, who pay me much better. And then afterwards, when the relationship was over, I was like, okay, well, I'm in Cape Town, but I could also be in the Philippines or in Buenos Aires or South America. So I started.
That is really, really funny you say that, Johannes, because my story is kind of similar.
Okay.
I was in Cape Town 5 years ago, and I thought, okay, maybe I'm going to move to Cape Town for a couple of years, just because I wanted to live somewhere else. And that was in 2013. I was in Cape Town, and that's where I realized I can work anywhere with my company. It doesn't matter where I am. And Cape Town is one of my favorite places. I always seem to go back there, but there's so many places I also want to see. So that Cape Town sparked it for me as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I actually wanted to just stay there because I really liked it there, but basically after the relationship was over, I didn't want to be there in that time. So I always had also the plans to go to South America and see other parts of the world, and then. But the thing is, like, I never really found a place that I liked more than Cape Town.
No.
So I always came.
I'm
back
still
there.
looking.
Yeah. So I always came back there, and that's kind of how I ended up traveling for actually the last 8 years.
Before we continue, I just want to say a deep, heartfelt thank you to the people who wrote a review in iTunes or your podcast app. Thank you.
So one thing I think is that when we travel and work and travel, one thing that is usually very hard is when we get to a new city, that we need to like start from scratch with our social contacts, with finding like where's like the coolest area actually to live and whatsoever. And once we have all these things figured out and have like a few friends we're hanging out with, it's already like 1 month or 6 weeks that we're into the place, staying there. And then we have like 3-4 more weeks, and then we can almost move on. So a lot of the time being a nomad is wasted in that sense that oftentimes it's actually not so exciting to be in a new city because oftentimes you arrive alone and you don't really have the connections. And because we did the cruise and we built like an incredible community around the world, we can basically recommend certain places at certain times of the year and really create a lot of value there by saying like, oh, this is Rio and this is where you can get like good apartments and this is where you can go for a meetup once a week and different things. So we're just working on this now, and maybe once you have this interviews live, we already launched, or maybe in like 2-3 weeks later.
And you did it in Barcelona. You had Homebase Barcelona, which was it's not a conference, it's a community, and you have meetups.
In Barcelona we were just testing with the concept, but the way how we did it in Barcelona, we're not going to do it again. Like basically because we have like an event that is on a cruise ship, and we were trying to do something what we did on Nomad Cruise a little bit in Barcelona. But now we realize we actually don't want more events where like 300 people are coming. We just want to facilitate deeper connections and really enjoying places, and where it's not like a big conference or anything. So the one Homebase was a little bit developing this way, but we're doing it a little bit differently now. Because we realized it's great to have a cruise and it's great to have a lot of connections and content and conference talks, but at the same time it's also really important to have like smaller things. So maybe now that you've been in Rio here for a while, you notice that maybe you have a few less people, but you connect much better to them.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're also not alone here in Rio. So like from the beginning when you came here, you already knew some people. And so what you experience here now with the community, this like a little bit better organized, this is what Homebase is.
Yeah, and this whole thing about being part of the community is something that I spoke to both Matt and Curtin with in the last 2 weeks episodes, when you're an alumni of Nomad Cruise, and as Matt said, he was on Remote Year and something else. Whenever you're in a new place around the world, you know a lot of nomads. So in all these groups, you can just post, "Now I'm here. Does anybody want to hang out?" For Matt, it happened in Kenya, and actually for me, it happened when I was in South Africa as well earlier this year, and you happened to be there. That's the first time we met, and there was a Facebook group with a lot of nomads and a lot of Wi-Fi tribe people, and I joined a lot of stuff. Some of it also organized by you. Thank you for the wine tour. That was amazing. But the whole thing about connecting with people, is that something that Homebase will help with as well?
Yes, for sure. It's like this, but it's better organized. I mean, right now you're part of 30, 40 different Facebook groups.
Exactly.
And you still always need to figure out, like, how is this working? Who is actually there? You always meet, like, complete strangers. So we want to create something like a community where when you meet the people, you at least have, like, 4, 5, 6, 10 friends in common. There's, like, a common community feeling, but then also connect you much better to the local life.
So, basically, Homebase is work in progress that's been tested and developed at the moment. In the episode with Matt Bowles, we talked a bit about the different remote programs like Remote Year, Hackers Paradise and Wi-Fi Tribe, that it provides nomads not only with a community but also accommodation. But this is not exactly what Homebase is all about.
No, not necessarily. No. It's more about the community, and a lot of the other remote programs, they are only like basically they offer accommodation, but we don't offer accommodation. The main thing that most other communities charge for is for accommodation. We cut this out on purpose because we want people to give the freedom to stay wherever they want, and also to stay and arrive and leave and whatever they want. But we just want to give them the community, which in my opinion is the most valuable thing. And then if you want to stay in a 5-star hotel or in a hostel, that's up to you.
Exactly, and that's actually one of the reasons I've been thinking about. Maybe I should join one of those where they find accommodation, but it also becomes kind of a straitjacket that now I have to be in that place in order to get for what I paid for, and what if I don't like it? It's more flexible with the way I travel. I find sometimes I stay in an Airbnb, and sometimes it's a hostel, and sometimes it's couch surfing, and it's more flexible on how long I'm gonna stay, because that's different. It's very individual what people like.
Exactly. There's a good thing for everything, all of these things, and I think we're going to do some things with accommodation as well, but like I believe that in general the biggest value that we can give is community.
Absolutely.
And this is something where we can work for, and that we can do, and we can give even more community if we don't ask people to pay for accommodation or for co-working, because like most digital nomads don't use co-working spaces.
No.
And they want to stay where they want, or they want to just organize with their friends their own accommodation. So it's a little bit hard, and it's going to be like a lot lower priced than these other things. Yeah. But still, we provide almost the same value.
Yeah.
So,
and if I just may add, the whole thing about co-working, I think that's also very individual. Some people, they enjoy being in a co-working space where they're surrounded. For me, I don't need it. I don't need it that much. It's fine, but I can just as easy do that on the kitchen table wherever I stay. But some people, they like to go out, and they like to, now I'm going to work. But it's very individual.
Yeah, I mean, like, co-working spaces are nice, and they're a good place to be productive and stuff, but actually they are not really the places that give you a good community, because everyone is working and doesn't even want to talk to each other. So... But that's oftentimes one reason why people join as well. They join for the community. They join for going to the events and things afterwards. But I feel that there needs to be something that's a little bit different to all these things, and that's what we're trying to do.
And I can take anything you can throw at me, and nothing can get me down. Life life is looking so bright, the sun is up again. I'm feeling like I could fly. No clouds in my way, no. And oh, 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 I'm living the good life. And oh, 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 I'm living the good life now. Oh, 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 I'm living the good life. And nothing can get me down, no.
So the last couple of years, and probably also next year, you've been doing 2 cruises a year.
Yeah.
One small one in Europe and one transatlantic. Do you see that as in the future, or do you see it as being 4 a year, or 5 a year, or 1 a year, or 1 every second year?
No, it's gonna be different. It will be different. Maybe already this year, but people will see it. There will be different things. Maybe we're gonna do 2 cruises by the end of the year, but I don't know yet, so I can't talk about it.
There was something when it's been growing so much, and on the first one you were around 100 people, 125 or something like that, and this one we were 500 people, and people were sort of talking about, at some point will we take over the entire ship?
Maybe. I don't know. We just do things step by step, and when we feel that we can do it, then we're gonna do it. But we're not gonna get ourselves into stressed out, or there's no need to do this. There's nothing that we need to prove to anyone to get the full ship. Only if we want it, then we can do it.
On the cruise, Johannes did a talk called Lessons Learned from Starting Nomad Cruise.
I think I've learned thousands of lessons. So the first one is exactly what you were talking about, the cruise. I think in general it's really important to take things step by step, and that is the biggest mistake that most people do. They want to achieve something that is way too big. Like even this Homebase project that we're doing now, it's maybe already we're jumping 3-4 steps, and that's already too much. So and it's going to be more complicated, and that's why it takes us longer. So I think in general we can have our vision. We can say one day I want to take the full ship, so what do I need to do in order to get there? It's not going to be I'm going to try to convince a cruise ship line to get the whole ship, but it will be building a community, getting a lot of alumni ready, creating more and more alumni, and then once we feel we have the masses to do this, and we're gonna ask everyone who wants to be on the full ship. We feel now that we can do it, and then we eventually do it. So it's just a question of having had a lot of customers in the past and then doing it. It's not about okay, now we need to try this. That could work as well, but it's very, very difficult, especially with tourism services and stuff, or something that works word of mouth so much better than any other way. We don't need to rush it. So taking things step by step, I think, is super important, and then also learning to delegate things and trusting other people, because there's only so much that you can do by yourself. But if once you find a cool team, then you can do really, really awesome things. And you need to learn to trust them, and you need to kind of just give them a guideline, and then they need to develop things by themselves. That's something that has really made a big impact for me to learn, because I used to do everything by myself also in the past.
And I know that we talked about that on Nomad Cruise 6, that was the first one where you tried to be one of the attendees and not just be working all the time and see it from a different angle, and you got yourself a good team together.
Yeah, exactly. And now these days I'm not really involved anymore. I think on the next cruise I will just be there, but I'm not gonna I will just look how things are being implemented, and then eventually I will not join.
That was almost it for this episode, but Johannes has some breaking news about himself that he hasn't told anyone before. That's coming up, but before that, let me remind you that this episode is supported in part by Hotels25.com. It's a website that helps you find the best prices on hotel rooms around the world. Hotels25.com, best price guaranteed. Johannes has been a full-time nomad since 2010, but he tells me, to my big surprise, that his nomad lifestyle is coming to an end.
I am most probably gonna settle
Really?
in a week. Yeah.
No.
Exactly. But I'm not gonna settle. I'm gonna settle in the way how I think every nomad should do it, and that is like going to a place where you can be like around 5 months per year, and then you can travel whenever you feel like it. So that is something that I have.
So is that Germany or somewhere where you can kite surf all the time?
No, I can't even kite surf there, and that's actually good, so that I can focus on work.
You don't have the temptation.
No, that I don't. I can still go kiting anywhere. I'm thinking about. I'm giving Mallorca a test.
Yeah.
Which is an island in Spain, center of Spain,
Yeah.
and it has got very good flight connectivity to my family and friends, but also to anywhere in the world. And I have some friends there, so there's a lot of factors for me why I'm giving this a try. So, and I need to really like now the projects and everything I'm doing has become quite big. So it's not so easy to run this completely from the road, like not really right now. So I want to have like a nice place that I like, that I enjoy, and where I can, where it's not so hard for me to combine all the other things I want to do. And I have to admit that I've gotten a little bit tired of traveling, which is a normal thing that you get to after a few years. So I don't really need to. I'm in Rio now the third time.
Yeah, I've been traveling 2.5 years now, exactly almost to the date. And so, at what time did it happen to you? Not that necessarily it's going to happen to me.
So it happened to me after 4 years, after 3-4 years actually. The first time that I wanted to move to Tarifa, and then I started the cruise. And when I started the cruise, the whole thing started again. Like I was like, yeah, finally I can travel with people that I meet around the world, and I can have this global community. So, which is 10 times more fun than traveling by yourself. And by yourself, you give up much earlier than with a community. I don't plan to give up, but I'm just like, I'm not giving up like traveling, but I just want to have one place where I can have, like work on big projects and really make things happen.
And your own pictures on the walls and your books in the shelves and
most importantly, an office chair. Yeah, I want to have a nice office chair. That's something that I get in no Airbnb.
I'm dreaming of an office chair.
Yeah.
You'll find links to Nomad Cruise, Homebase, and that Facebook group I told you about in the show notes and on the RadioVagabond.com.
Thank you so much, Johannes. And we're about to go to the beach and see the sunset, so we don't want to miss that. And maybe a covering.
Yeah, maybe one tonight.
Maybe one.
Next Friday, there'll be another Nomad interview, and Monday morning, as usual, it's my regular travel show where we continue the journey through Morocco, and I'm so looking forward to that. My name is Palabo. See ya.